Hello again, folks. Um, I actually am going to do a video on this castle set in a little bit, but what I wanted to do here, I was thinking while I was building this set, is that there are some techniques and some tips and tricks that maybe most people know, but some people might not. So I thought it would be fun to just sort of give you a quick rundown of some tips that I've picked up, some things that I do that make building big sets like this relatively easy. That just to keep you from pulling your hair out while you're trying to put one of these together. I thought that might be fun to just talk over some of the things I like to do. So let's get into this. In order to go over this more clearly, I've actually taken apart a couple things that I had already built, and I'm going to reassemble them here in this video. But first of all, let's take a look at this. So most modern sets, especially big ones, will come with one of these tools. These are good to have. You can make sure it usually is in like the first bag or something. You just set it aside and keep it close because it's useful if you make a mistake and you put a couple things together that you realize right after, oh, these don't go together like this, I messed up. You can use this tool to pull them apart relatively easily. Sometimes it's not always perfect. Sometimes you really there's no you just gotta like use your teeth or like pry it up with a fingernail or something. That's really the best way sometimes to get them apart. But sometimes this tool can be helpful. And what these books usually, part of what I wanted to say was just kind of talk over how to use one of these instruction manuals. There are really no words to describe what you're doing. They do have words in them now, little paragraphs, but they're usually about the history of the set or some fun like piece of trivia or something. They're not actually about how to put the set together. So all of the instructions for putting the set together are going to be in pictures. So you have to sort of learn to read these pictures. It's usually, I mean, they're good instruction manuals. They're very clear usually, but I just wanted to give you some more details and fun stuff. So this is just pointing out like which bags you're going to use in this section and what you're going to make with those bags once all the pieces come out and you follow all the instructions. So this particular set is so big that it actually has two manuals. So in this manual, this is what this manual is going to cover. It's going to cover bag one, which is just going to make some little random little pieces, and then bags 2 through 13, which is going to contain these minifigures, and you're going to end up building this part of the castle. Um, so the first thing I definitely want to point out, and maybe this is obvious, but I think it's important to say, is that if they tell you to dump out a bag, only dump out that bag. Only open that bag. So if you're working on bag one, just put all the other bags in the box and don't even look at them. Only dump out bag one, because if you dump out more than what you need, you're going to be extra confused because you're going to have a bunch of pieces that you don't even need that aren't even going to come up yet. So don't do that. You'll mix yourself up. Definitely only dump out the one bag that you need. Hey, I just thought of something I meant to mention, so I wanted to add it in here real quick. Especially with these big sets, there will often be multiple bags with the same number. So you might be looking for bag three, and you open it up and you start working, and you're like, wait, why is all this stuff missing? And it turns out there's another bag with the number three on it that you need to pull out and open as well. So just wanted to point that out. You want to make sure you've got all the bags that you need, um, and open them all up and dump them all together, as long as they all have the same number and that's the number you're working on. And you might want to dump them a little bit apart from each other, because I do find that usually when there are two bags like that, there are one of them has smaller bits in it, and you want to. It's probably a good idea to keep that one a little bit apart from the other bits, so you can more easily find the small pieces that you need. Yeah, just wanted to mention that. So there might be more than one bag, and the manual will not mention this. It'll just the picture will just be like one bag being poured out. But if you yeah, if you look in the box, you'll find more than one bag. So you just want to make sure you get them both, or even all three of them. I don't think I've ever seen more than two with the same number, but you never know. So yeah, just wanted to insert that here. And then you'll see here they've just got, usually these start, if there's a minifigure in the bag, the first thing they'll tell you to do is to put together that minifigure. And that's usually very simple. There's just like a couple little things that you stack together and then you're good to go. In this case, this guy comes with a little accessory you can put in his hand, and then there's a little haystack that you build. That's just a really simple process here. And then there's this bull you put together. But we're going to move past that. That's all pretty straightforward. I just wanted to talk about some tips in terms of how to handle this stuff. So here we go. We're going to build a firkin is actually what this is. So here's the pile of stuff, right? And here's your instructions. So what you want to do, well, what might be helpful for some people, I actually don't do it much anymore. I've gotten pretty good at being able to spot the piece I want in a pile of pieces. But one thing you can do is you can actually, before you even look at the instructions, after you dump everything out, you can just sort all the pieces by type. So you can say like, okay, this is like a round 1 by 1. So I'm going to put all these guys over here. Here's a barrel I'm going to put over here. Oh, this is still put together a little bit. You can, set them all up by type, and that will make it much easier to find what you're looking for. It's a good start, especially if you have trouble spotting the particular piece you need. A lot of times you'll be like, oh, I can't find it. It must not be here. They must have left that out. It's a mistake. And then you'll look a little hard. You'll be like, oh, it's right there. or if you drop something on the floor, that's always a pain. But yeah, this is just a way of, you can just sort everything whatever way makes sense to you, by size, by color, but certainly by particular piece. Put all those particular pieces together. Maybe don't put right next to each other ones that are very similar looking, because that could be confusing. But but anything that's exactly the same, obviously you want to put right next to the other ones of that type. So let's finish this up. Let's see. Here's a little claw guy. These red guys. And you don't want to make, I'm going to try not to make piles of like two separate piles of the same piece, because then again you'll confuse yourself. Let's put those guys over there, like I was about to confuse myself. Let's see, one of these. All right, I think we have everything pretty much separated out in terms of type. Let's make sure I didn't make any mistakes here. I think I have everything sorted out, right? Yeah. Okay. So now let's go over here, and you go step by step, and you want to, I find the best thing to do is they'll give you in a little box at the top exactly what you're going to need to do that step. So in this case, we need one flat 1 by 3 and one flat 2 by 3. So let's get those out and set them. Here they are. And you want to set them aside, or put them like right in front of you, so you know that's what you're working with. And then they'll show you very clearly in the picture with big red arrows, like you're going to stick this one on this one in this location. So you just put it together. Another thing they do, this is in more modern instructions, they've started adding this, is now that you've put one thing together, they're going to outline in red the new pieces that you're adding for the next step. So you can see this, we're adding this round 1 by 1 and this piece, they're both outlined in red in the picture. So you can tell those are the new pieces, which is very helpful, especially when you start getting up to really big, complicated stuff. So we need one of these, and we need one of these. So we'll take those, take this guy, this goes on here. This guy goes right here. And there you go. Another thing about putting pieces on, it's very useful, especially when you get to a big, a large area with a lot of pieces, sometimes it can be hard to tell, well, where exactly am I putting this one little piece in this big area. Um, you have to make sure you start in the right place. The order that you put the pieces down can be important. So if there's a bunch of pieces going on and some of them are in the middle and some of them are at the edges, I usually start with the ones at the edges because you can see where they're going to go. They're going to go all the way to the edge. You don't have to count studs to see exactly which spot you're putting it in. Anyways, let's look at our next step. So we need another flat 1x3 and 3 of these little round guys. So that's this guy and these guys. And you see how easy it is to pick them out when you've already got them set aside. Like if you've already got all these little round guys in a pile, it's really easy to just grab 3 of them and you're good to go. I'll put this guy on here. And now here's our next picture. So we've got a flat, smooth topped 2x2. I like just kind of like think of maybe it's the nerd, the classification nerd in me, but I like to think of what the terminology is for these pieces. I think of these as like a flat 1x2 with studs, and then this is a flat 2x2 with a smooth surface. Something like that. So we just pop on these guys right on top. You can see in the picture. Okay, and then sometimes, especially what'll happen in these big sets, is they'll actually do a little inset like this, where, okay, now you're putting together a separate thing that you're then gonna, once it's assembled, attach to what you've already built. So that's what we're doing here. And again, we have the list of parts, so let's find those things. We've got this round guy with the stud in the center. Got this guy with the round edge. We've got the barrel piece, very distinctive. And we've got this little guy. Sometimes it's hard to tell when they mean a black piece, because I think to help you see it more clearly, they sort of outline the edges in white, so it can look like a different color, but that is meant to be black right there. Sometimes the colors it's hard to exactly match up which color they're talking about, but usually it's pretty clear which piece you want, because they'll only include in the bag, you know, pieces in that particular color of that shape and size. You know, they're pretty good at doing that, at like picking out colors that are unique. So here's our little thing that we just built, and you can see they want us to take it like this and attach it like this. And there we go. We're starting to come together here. And now this step is very easy. There's a single thing we need, which is the silver goblet. So we grab that guy and we put it on here. And we have completed our little step here and built this little dude, Jan Firkin. So let's set that aside, because now, as you can see in this new section, there's a picture up here of what we're going to build, which they'll often do. They'll put a little picture of the finished project so you know what you're doing. And then they'll start a new set of steps to build that specific thing. Because we've obviously built our firkin, and now we're building this like a fruit stand here. So again, we'd pick out these 2 items that we need. One of these and one of these. And we just put them together like it says in the picture. Let's try to make sure you can see the book. Now, next up we got 2 of these guys. And sometimes they'll have you put stuff on top, and sometimes they'll have you put it on the bottom. And they do try to make it clear what's going on with the picture, with the arrows and stuff. So now we need 2 of these guys. Here we go. And we're just sticking them on. Let's see what's next. Okay, now we need 2 of these fellows. Now what's interesting is that these will come disassembled. These are these hinge pieces, and a lot of times the hinge pieces will come in separate parts. And sometimes, you know, your inclination is to immediately put them together, but sometimes they have you put them in just one piece, one part of it like this, and then add the second part later, which is what happens here. You can see they have a little round bit at the bottom, so we're gonna insert those in here. Right. Oh, I don't want to do it wrong. Oh no, we're not going to do that. Haha, see? I started to get ahead of myself. We need one of these guys. And we need 2 of these guys. These are interesting ones. And we need 1 little claw piece. 1x1 claw piece. So we'll grab that. Okay, now let's do this right. So again, this has an inset where we're building something separately and then attaching it to the thing we've been building so far. So we're going to do that. So yes, these pieces don't go in to the hinges right away. We're attaching them to this first. And then we are going to attach these little guys, which are going to be sort of like drawers or shelves in the fruit stand. Let's make sure we get them on right. There we go. And now, as you can see, we take this whole thing and attach it here. Now I've got a hinged bit, and it tells you in this picture, next picture, you're going to want to bend that down. Okay, and now we need some more pieces. We need 2 of these 2x3s. They just go right on top. You can see them outlined in red there. So, and you can see why they wanted us to bend this down, because we need to put these, they're sort of taking up the space where that would be otherwise. That's interesting the way they use these hinge pieces now. They'll often use them to create these angled looks, and the hinge isn't really meant to move as part of the, as part of the object. It's meant to just stay at that angle. So that's interesting. And let's see what's next. Okay, so now we've got some little accessories we're putting on top. We've got like a little orange and this little green guy that looks sort of like a flower bud, and these little red cherry bunch. And they have in the picture us. This is where you gotta like sort of I get kind of obsessed with getting them in exactly the right place that they show in the instructions. Even though, I mean, obviously this is about looks, and it doesn't actually matter like in terms of construction where these things sit. It does kind of. I mean, it is going to matter later on, because we're going to need to add like supports to this thing, and they're going to have to be in specific places. So we couldn't put the fruit in those places. But, in a way, certain decorative elements can be a little bit different than it says in the picture. But I always try to get it exactly like it is in the picture. So you might have to like count studs or something just to make sure you got it in just the right spot. And really it is best to get it in exactly the right spot, because you might not know that later on, other things are going to get added that would go in that spot that you're picking, then that are going to be important to the construction. So anyway, so now we put this much together. You can see that there's another inset here, and we are going to build the roof of this guy. And this has got some interesting stuff going on. So this is a multi-step build for this roof. So they're giving us all the pieces we need for all of these steps. And once it's together, we're going to stick it on top. So let's go ahead and get all those pieces set aside. So we need one of these guys. We need one of these guys. We need one of these guys. It says we need 4 of these little round 1x1s. I'll just grab them and put them over here. And then we need 2 of these guys. I'm just grabbing these from my store. And 2 of these guys. Here we go. And 2 of these guys. And 2 of the same guys, but in red. This sort of dark red. And then 2 of these in red. And then we need 2 of these. And it's good to have like a pile, like for your Legos. You need a lot of room to build these things. A pile over here of like your source Legos, and then a space in front of you where you can move the Legos that you're going to use to build this particular, you know, set of steps. So we've got all our pieces so we can get started. I'm actually going to pause this real quick and do the building off camera, and then I'll come back in afterwards. But I do want to point out, this is kind of interesting bit about the directions, is sometimes they'll do this. So we're actually starting with the piece upside down. And they do make that clear in the picture. The pictures are very clear. And then we're adding these guys like this. So we're like building out the bottom of the thing first. Whoops. The little guys, the little 1x1s are the worst. I always end up dropping them, or they pop out of my fingers and they go rolling. So I keep, I've always got my phone nearby so I can turn the flashlight on and try to find little pieces on the floor. But there we go. That's the bottom. Now, this happens a lot in the instructions. There'll be this little picture with this like arrow swivelly thing. And what they're saying there is what you've built so far, now you're going to swivel it into a different position to do the next part. They're just letting you know. So you don't try to don't try to add pieces to it like this. You have to flip it the other way. There we go. Okay, now we've built our roof. And in the next picture here, there's an arrow pointing down, and we're just inserting this guy right on here. There we go. Now, the next step, it says we need a baguette and a leaf. So let's grab those. Here's our baguette, here's our leaf, and the baguette gets clipped into this little claw piece. So we'll just do that so it stays in there. And then the leaf is attached like so. And there you go. We've built our other piece, a little food stand that will go inside the castle. So I'm going to set that over there. So we're done our building, and here's what we got. We put together this stand and this firkin, and you'll see that we have a couple pieces left over. I wanted to do that on purpose to show you that. Look at this pile in the background. That's all the pieces I have left over from the huge build of the entire castle. Don't worry about that. It's okay if you have a couple of little pieces like this left over, because they deliberately put extra of the little ones in with every build, and with every bag there's always going to be a couple extra, especially of the little pieces like these, because they know that people are going to lose those. So they give you a couple extra right off the bat so that you don't have to call them and ask for more. You'll already have an extra one that you can use, which I think is a good idea. It probably doesn't cost them that much to throw in a couple extra of these guys. So yeah, don't be worried if you're done a step and you're done a bag and you've got like 5 little guys left over. That's okay, as long as everything looks all right, looks the way it's supposed to in the picture. Those are just extra pieces, and you can set them aside, use them for something else, or if you want more decoration on your fruit stand, put an extra cherry on there, whatever you want to do. But there we go. I hope that helps a little bit for you if you're gonna embark on a giant Lego build. There's some techniques you can use to make it not as difficult. Let me see if there's anything else in here I can point to that might be useful to talk about. You can see that this build in particular gets really complex. Lots of little pieces going in all kinds of different places. Like in a step like this, where you've got these pieces going in the middle and all over the place, the red outlining is very useful, because you can see, okay, this is a new piece I'm putting in, this is a new piece I'm putting in. But this piece was already here because it has no red outline. So you sort of get a better idea of what you're adding and what was already there. And if you it will happen occasionally in a build like this where you'll skip a step by mistake. And you'll be like, wait, what? Nothing seems to be in the right place. So you just have to quickly look around, and you can usually tell quickly if you skipped a step by mistake. Yeah, so... And like I was saying, with stuff like this, like if you get if you're like, well, where exactly does this piece go? Well, if you're not really sure, if you have a hard time sort of locating it on your current area, it can help to start putting in other pieces first, and then it will be more obvious where that piece goes in relation to those pieces. Like you can see that this one would be a good one to start with because it goes right at the edge here. So you know exactly where it goes. You don't have to like count studs or wonder, does that go in the middle? Is it one more stud this way? No, you just slap it on the edge. And this one goes right on the corner, so you know where that one goes. And then it kind of like follows from there. You can see all, if the edges line up, it's pretty easy to tell where the next piece is going to go. So don't start with this one that's like in this weird middle area. Start with one on the edge and work your way across. That would be much easier to do things that way. And yeah, I don't think I have much else. I just thought it might be handy to have these tips and tricks. Just some things that methods that I use to build these. I hope it's useful. Thanks for watching.